Tell me your story. How did you get involved in politics and want to be part of things like this?
I've been involved in politics for a really long time. I was actually the state vice chair for the Minnesota Minn GOP starting in 2011. And then I served in the House of Representatives for Minnesota State Legislature. So this is one of the most exciting conventions, though, that I've ever been to.
So politics these days in Minnesota, it's a little tough, but the suburban areas are areas that are really important battleground areas. Tell me about Woodbury in that area and what might happen in this election.
You know, Woodbury tends to swing back and forth. I served for 2 terms and then it went to Democrat. I think in this year, it's my district specifically is actually potential for a pickup again. But historically, the suburb of Woodbury always swung back and forth about every 4 to 6 years.
Tell me about just the feeling in Minnesota. There's a lot of optimism that Donald Trump could maybe win this state. What are your thoughts and feelings about that?
It's definitely a toss-up. There was really good energy in 2016. 2020 felt completely different. It wasn't that same energy, but I am seeing 2016 or even higher excitement and energy around the presidential. So I think a possible pickup is absolutely out there.
What are the most important issues in Minnesota right now that you think President Trump can address?
I mean, I think it depends on who you talk to, but on the minds of everybody is security at the border that relates to law and order. So I think many people want to see our border more secure, but they also want to bring law and order back to where it should be. We seem to be incarcerating people. They're getting arrested and getting let out right away, and they're coming back and they're repeating the crimes. So we're finding that the police officers tend to be arresting the same people over and over. It's time to bring law and order and safety of the citizens of Minnesota back.
A lot of people say that President Trump is not a president that respects women. You've heard all that talk. As a woman, how do you address that when you stand up for President Trump?
I think my father was an attorney and had a saying, there are always all sides to all stories. And I would say the same is true here. You hear good stories about President Trump. He has a lot of people, a lot of women that work for him in his administration that still would again. I mean, I look at Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders as the perfect example. She had a great experience. So I wouldn't believe all the bad stories, and I would start to listen for good ones as well.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has big aspirations too. He would like to be president someday. How disastrous would that be for the country if Tim Walz would be president someday?
Well, we've seen what Biden is doing to America, and Walz is doing the same thing to Minnesota. So that would be disastrous. Biden currently is a catastrophe. The Democrat Party is in complete disarray, and the division continues to grow and grow, and in Minnesota as well. And here we are, the Republicans standing solidly united. There's a huge difference happening right now.
Are you optimistic about this election? Do you think Donald Trump wins in November?
I'm very optimistic. Donald Trump came really close in 2016, and I'm very optimistic about his odds this time around.